How's it going, everybody? This is Brian for Pop Culture Crossing, and today we are talking about 1990's Home Alone, easily one of the most recognizable Christmas movies of the modern era, and definitely one of the most famous Christmas movies from the 1990s. So the movie follows Kevin McCallister, a young boy who feels like his parents favor his brother and sisters over him. Now, his extended family, including aunts, uncles, and cousins, have all gathered at the McCallister house before they leave to Paris, where they are to spend their Christmas holiday. However, while en route to Europe, Kevin's parents realize that they have forgotten one thing. Kevin, he is actually still at home in Chicago, and this sets off the entire story of Kevin being left alone, the McCallister house being the target of robbers, and Kevin's mother doing everything that she can in her power to get back to Kevin as soon as possible. So the movie features strong writing, exemplary acting, and humor, and these are all elements that, when tied together, will probably result in Home Alone being ranked among viewers' top Christmas movies. The movie does feature excellent writing by John Hughes. Some may be skeptical that how can parents leave a child behind especially when you're traveling internationally, but this is actually set up quite convincingly. So you have Kevin lash out at his parents in front of the entire extended family. This results in his being punished by banishment to the attic for the evening, where he's to spend the night. And it's not bad or anything. It's like a loft, essentially. However, during the night, the area is hit by a storm and the power gets knocked out. So this disables the alarm clocks. The family sleeps through their alarms. They wake up frenzied and worried that they're going to miss their flight, rush to get out the door and on their way to the airport. And as a result, they forget Kevin. Now, in all honesty, to Kevin's mom, Kate, to her credit, she does ask one of the daughters before they leave if everyone has been accounted for. Her daughter gives her, an answer with numbers about how many kids, whatever. And so you would believe that. But that is just an example to always double check, because she did not count Kevin. So another narrative thread is woven in tandem with Kevin being left at the house, and this is that the night before they left, so the night that Kevin lashed out at his parents, there was a cop at the McCallister house who was inquiring about, their holiday plans, making sure everything was going to be safe and secure for the holidays, with a lot of seasonal robberies taking place. However, this cop is actually an impersonator and is a robber himself who is casing the area, and he and his partner are trying to figure out which houses to rob. So the McCallister house is actually the creme de la creme and the prime target of the robbers, and they soon discover, however, that it isn't completely empty, and Kevin picks up on their nefarious plans, and that sets in motion the whole house defense and the robbers getting attacked by Kevin's booby traps. Home Alone has very natural pacing, I would say. If you think that the majority of the movie is just mindless, inane slapstick humor of the robbers being beaten up and pulverized by the Kevin's traps, then that's honestly not the case. Really, that portion of the movie is only in the third act. The first two acts pretty much set up Kevin being left at home, Kevin living on his own and kind of realizing what a change that is. And Kevin is pretty mature in some elements. He does kind of act a little bit older than his age. However, he is kind of a brat as well. So he's kind of a complex character in that regard. So he does actually figure out that being home alone when you're a kid isn't all about watching TV and eating ice cream for all of your meals, but he actually goes out, does errands, grocery shopping, things like that. That helps it feel more natural, and it is really nice that the movie does show that the robbers were actually planning on robbing a whole collection of houses in the McCallister neighborhood. It would have felt really forced if the robbers were just targeting the McCallister house, and then boom, it happens that they're out of town, and oh wait, Kevin's still here. So I do like that they do show that the McCallister house was just one of a whole slew of houses that were being robbed. As I briefly mentioned before, by showing that Kevin is learning about life on his own, this really shows Kevin's well-developed character arc. He does start out as a brat, and when he is left at home at first, he does indulge in ice cream and junk food and things like that, but he does realize that you can't just do that, so he goes grocery shopping, gets a Christmas tree for his house, and sets everything up for Christmas in that regard. And by the film's conclusion, he has actually learned and realized what a blessing it is to have a family, even if everything isn't copacetic all the time with them. You know, if the film's pacing would have been different, if the most of the movie would have been just this slapstick comedic robbers being attacked by the traps element, then the more serious tonal elements and the story lessons would have been lost, and the overall charm of the movie wouldn't have been there either. So one of the minor negative elements that I had in terms of the pacing revolves specifically around Kevin's ability to devise and construct the booby traps in such a short amount of time. So he overhears the robbers talking that they're going to hit his house at like 9 o'clock at night. And that night he goes to the Christmas Eve service. And you would think that the Christmas Eve service would probably be like around 5 to 7 or so at night. And he leaves the Christmas Eve service and then is like, now it's time to get down to business. And then he like does his entire strategy, figures out where he's going to put the traps, how he's going to construct his traps, and sets his traps in like a 2 or 3, maybe 4 hour at most time period. And that felt a bit shoehorned to me. And just the fact that they that they had that in there, it was like, okay, that kind of takes me out of it a little bit. I would have really appreciated it if the director, Chris Columbus, if he would have had showed Kevin at least sometime in that afternoon being like, okay, I need to start preparing. That would have been totally fine, but just the fact that he's like, okay, I need to start doing this, and then, you know, by 9 o'clock, he's like ready, chilling, eating dinner and stuff, and it's like, okay, that's a bit unrealistic, guys. So that could have easily been fixed, and I wish they would have reconsidered that before the final product was cut. So in terms of performances, Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, and Daniel Stern provide the strongest performances of the movie, and they are definitely the principals. Culkin's Kevin, though somewhat a brat at first, as I have mentioned, is quite charming and mature for his age. And despite his immaturity at the beginning of the movie, like I said, he does have a very nice character arc and comes around by the film's end. And, you know, the ease at which Culkin was able to portray that and convey this maturity and this development, as well as deliver his lines and still feel like a charming little kid, was very impressive and is a highlight and memorable element of the movie. Pesci and Stern's depictions of the thieves, Harry Lime and Marv Merchant, respectively, it really just set the gold standard in terms of excellence of depicting realistic physical harm in a comedic way. You know, I'm not saying like they're, you know, negating like other actors of the past, like slapstick actors or whoever, but I'm saying in terms of modern film, they really do a great job with their depictions. So Pesci's character, Harry Lime, is definitely the more level-headed of the two, and Stern's character, Marv Merchants, is the more artistic of the two. So this at once creates a balance and a complement to each of the characters, and really helps them feel quite rounded in terms of the antagonists of the movie. So the shrill, blood-curdling screams and just the sheer reactions that each of the actors convey as a result of Kevin's home defenses is hilarious, and this is definitely one of the hallmarks of Home Alone. Now, the third act is in large part the most comedic part of the movie, and these sequences, are complete with Pesci and Stern's depictions and demonstration that their acting and comedic acumen is definitely on point. Catherine O'Hara delivers a strong performance as Kate McCallister, Kevin's mom, and it's easy to critique her as how could you possibly leave your son behind, but her determination to return to Kevin, no matter the cost, is very well communicated and done in a convincing manner. And yes, Kate forgot Kevin, but her love and devotion to her family is definitely evident throughout the movie. Home Alone's strong production design is also a great feature of the movie. Kevin's booby traps are very creatively realized, and the amount of detail that went into the traps and the production design of the traps really shows that it wasn't senseless, but all of the intricate parts of them are very intentional and meticulously planned and strategically developed by the crew, and that definitely has a good payoff for the viewers. Not surprisingly, John Williams' music and soundtrack for the movie is another memorable element. There are tons of memorable elements here. It's, no wonder that Home Alone is such a great Christmas movie. So the movie's main theme is easily recognizable and probably synonymous with Christmas movies of the modern period. The orchestral elements really convey the burglar's nefarious plans, as well as Kevin's innocence and kind of the danger that he does feel when the burglars do attack his house. And as a whole, the movie is very pivotal in setting the ambiance, and I really can't think of what Home Alone would be like if it weren't for Williams's compositions. Chris Columbus is the director, and he does a brilliant job with Home Alone. The way in which he's able to extract such noteworthy performances from his principal actors, and his management of the production design, and just the humorous results that they yield, it really is no surprise that Home Alone is such a cherished Christmas movie. I do wish, though, as I mentioned in that part about pacing, that Columbus would have gone back and just all he needed was to show that Kevin was planning some of the defenses in the afternoon. That's all I needed. I wish he would have reconsidered that, but he didn't. And nevertheless, Columbus's work in Home Alone is great, and the movie's reputation is evidence of that fact. In the end, Home Alone is a Christmas movie that definitely should not be missed. It features strong acting, solid writing, and terrific performances, all the elements that you want in an enjoyable film, and especially for a holiday film. So if you're worried, I know some people, I've interacted with some people, and they just, have it in their minds that Home Alone is just this dumb slapstick, 90 minutes of stupid humor. That's actually not the case, and I want to stress that. So if you're worried that is, you don't have to worry anymore, because the real comedic sequences and the traps and everything really is just the third act. And yes, it does have these comedic elements, but it has important underlying messages of cherishing family and not judging others. And these are important messages that everyone should hear and convey in their own lives, regardless of the time of year. So if you've seen Home Alone, let me know what your favorite booby trap of the movie is. I'm also curious to hear if you thought that the story was conveyed in a convincing manner with Kevin being left, or did it seem to you that it was just this sheer negligence of his mother? Don't forget to check out my full, more detailed written review at popculturecrossing.com. And if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow my Twitter account at popculturexing and share with your friends, I definitely appreciate that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.